we think of brand suitability as a natural extension from brand safety, right? So brand safety is, well, it's binary, right? For the most part, something is or it isn't safe. And I think about whether it's something like hate speech or adult content. Most advertisers, certainly our customers, are going to want to stay away from that regardless. So once we've established the inventory that is unsafe, next we move into what is appropriate for a specific brand. And every brand might have a different perspective on what's right for them, right? So what's appropriate for an alcohol brand might be very different than what's appropriate for a bank. And our responsibility is to give our customers control. And when we say customers, we're talking about both publishers and advertisers, and allow them to work together to find the inventory and the content that match the ads that they want to deliver. But if I can think about the current economic and pandemic situation that we're in, it's certainly accelerated the adoption of brand suitability for a number of different reasons. A lot of that really has been powered by what we call cognitive semantic technology, which is a very buzzwordy thing to say, but it's powered by an acquisition that we made in late 2019 of a company called Admantics. And what this technology allows us to do, in short, is identify the context of a page and the sentiment of a page. And as a use case, right, it's really difficult right now to go online and find any story that isn't somehow related to coronavirus. And there's a very big difference between a story that's talking about something negative, like the increased risk of increased death toll if we open states too early, versus a really positive and uplifting story about frontline medical workers and the sacrifices they're making. And so our responsibility is to give our customers the ability to make that distinction and align against the content that they feel is right for their particular brand. We really expect, so we've seen increased demand. We expect that to continue. And especially as advertisers get much more focused and refining and getting precise about what's appropriate for them, rest assured that companies like IAS will keep them safe and allow them to not risk reach and scale.
So not to get too deep in the weeds, but how do you guys work with the buy side and the sell side? So with brands, it's kind of clear, you know, it's a company and they want certain things and they work with you to make sure it's fine. Now, what about publishers? How do they work with you?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's an important question, actually. Our position, we're centrally located in this ecosystem. And it's not just advertisers and publishers, it's also DSPs that are in the mix. And you know, we certainly recognize that we're viewed as a leader in the space, and it's a position that we take very seriously. And we've really tried to drive this dialogue between those three groups to surface all the options and the merits and the risks of each, and allow them to understand the implications of the decisions that they make for brand suitability and brand safety. You know, beyond that, for publishers specifically, we've created tools that will allow them to proactively target ads and inventory away from particular advertisers that are sensitive to a specific piece of content. So in short, it's allowing them to curate their ads and optimize their ads in a way that is going to drive the most yield, allow them to monetize the most impressions, and most importantly, avoid any unnecessary blocking of ads. We've also taken a pretty vocal stance about using keywords as a blunt instrument for blocking, and why that we feel like that's not appropriate given the current situation. We've tried to provide tools, certainly provided a significant amount of data and research showing that, you know, the scenario I referenced earlier about the positive types of stories that are coming out provide opportunities for advertisers to reach brands, and they should be working with publishers to identify what those are. And then lastly, you know, we've taken a pretty vocal approach with governing bodies. So working with the IAB, the ISBA in the UK, we've worked with the Ad Council in White House and Centers for Disease Control. to get PSAs out, to get critical messages out to the public. We've worked with the IAB in the UK, participating in an open letter, encouraging support and collaboration for the news sector, because a lot of these publishers have been hit the hardest. And we want to make sure that we're not only allowing for advertisers to reach customers in the right place, but there is this societal element of making sure that we're allowing the funding and the monetization of quality journalism. And that's something that we're very committed to.
Chance, what do you think some of the, looking past this thing, whenever we get past it, clearly the industry is accelerating in a lot of ways. What does it mean for your sector, do you think, the impact of COVID and the experience we're going through? What might be the impact, and where might we be in 6 to 12 months?
6 to 12 months is quite a ways away. I think we're dealing in 6 to 12 day increments at this point. And I think it's impossible to look forward and understand what the real impact will be, because I think a lot of it we're still in the midst of, and we're still feeling the impact now. But what we have noticed, actually a very significant change, is the tone in which brands are communicating with consumers. So whether it's linear TV or digital, you've probably seen a much more empathetic tone, right? Advertisers leaning on their brand values and focusing much more about what they're doing to help society, help their communities, rather than sell products. That is something that I hope sticks with us for quite a while. Specific to our space, it's been very noticeable that this idea of a one-size-fits-all approach, whether it's verification partners or any technology provider, just isn't going to work. Right? Every brand has unique needs, and it's a responsibility that we have as partners to be able to build something that's customized for them. And then beyond that, from our customer base, we've seen a really increased demand for transparency and visibility. Right? I think a lot of the subsequent impact has shined a light within the ad tech ecosystem and giving our advertisers and publishers much more information and data to help them understand where their money is going and why. And that's something that we've been really committed to.
And finally, Chance, I wanted to ask about sort of the whole notion of brand suitability, your company, the industry at large, beyond what has been digital media, online media, to other forms of media, including CTV and perhaps other outdoor audio. I'm not sure, but tell me where sort of the future application of the technology will be with respect to other platforms.
Yeah, that's a good question. We feel a responsibility as a partner to make sure that we can verify all the inventory, all the platforms that our customers want to make an investment and reach consumers. So, that has shifted very dramatically from a few years ago, being very desktop display heavy, shifted into video. And now we've made very significant investments in measuring and verifying things like CTV, focusing on this video everywhere strategy. Facebook and YouTube, so the walled gardens, have been a big area of growth over the last few years. Anytime you're dealing with user-generated content, it's really important that we're very, very granular and precise about understanding what the risks are and sharing those risks with our customers and allowing them to make informed, very specific decisions. And over the last, 6 months to a year, we've seen a real increased surge in demand for Pinterest, which we're working on integrations with, as well as LinkedIn, which we're launching very soon. And then some exciting partnerships with TikTok, which obviously, anybody who, unless you've been living under a rock, has been blowing up since quarantine has really taken over. So we're excited to launch some partnerships in the very near future with all of them, and just making sure that we can support our customers no matter where they choose to invest their dollars.